A very good evening to everybody watching. Thank you for joining us tonight on the agenda. My name is Tobie Aupindi. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Dr. Tobie Aupindi. He is a Swapo Member of Parliament in the National Assembly and also chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources. Dr. Aupindi has shared some interesting ideas around how to manage our natural resources, especially minerals, and we called him to studio to help us expand on those views. Thank you very much, Doc, for making time.
Thank you, Mr. Jabela. How are you doing?
No, very well, actually.
It's good to be in your studio.
Yeah, no,
Thanks
thank
to
you.
your viewers too.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for making time. I think the long and short of your submission in Parliament this week was really that we must start thinking as a country along the lines of taking resources and building up reserves for resources, as opposed to always taking cash. If you can expand on what you meant by that.
Thank you very much. Before I say that, first of all, you need to realize that you have a Vision 2030, which is now informed by NDP 6, the last, I think, of the frontiers of the NDP sequel that can then achieve our Vision 2030. Now, President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah want business unusual. She wants reform. She wants institutional capabilities to really solve the intrinsic difficulties that is facing the Namibian economy today. Youth unemployment, and those issues cannot simply be solved under the current economic structures. And my contribution to the Appropriation Bill, which is on the table right now, being debated by the honorable members of Parliament, is that we need to think global and act local. And no country on earth was ever developed without the serious transformation and reform of its natural wealth in order to contribute to current and future generation. And this is what I was talking about in my intervention to the bill.
I know I hear terms like building up gold reserves. I don't know what it means in practical terms, but maybe my mind is like you have those bricks of gold put back somewhere. But I mean, beyond gold, for example, in Namibia, what else can be done in that?
Well, look, Namibia is endowed with many natural resources, in particular within the mineral and extractive industry. We've just heard of global business opportunities such as the oil and gas. After many years of exploration, companies have made massive discoveries. We're not there yet. Now, that's why I say sometimes people are so uninformed about these processes. They take time, but you need to have the right playing ground. But here is what is required. When you have commodities, physical commodities, and this is what the thesis of my contribution was really that government need to come up, they need a paradigm shift. Instead of just getting fiat currency or on basic and an immediate value of fiat currency, it means absolutely nothing to you. While it has some values, it doesn't have as much value as the commodity itself. For example, the commodity will have, fiat you can only buy, spend it. While commodity controls industries. You're talking about, and therefore you must divide yourself between building up a reserve for your country for future economic stability and actually trading yourself. You are much better off if I'm in a corporation that is creating, for example, values within the mineral corporation. They've done very well. The mining industry has done incredibly well. It's contributed to job creation, economic development. But as a Namibian, I have to think about the future, current and future. We have a fiscal debt that is now moving in the region of like 193 billion. You have the fiscal space is fast running out, and therefore you'll end up being on a cliff, a fiscal cliff very, very soon if you are not able to control that spending and rein them in. But you can't pivot just on austerity. You have to look at where are the growth areas within the Namibian economy. Where are the growth areas? What can I do to expand my economy beyond the current, pay as you earn? I've always said that you can't regulate yourself for tax and transfer program. What we need really, number one, first of all, is to expand the market. And one of the ways to expand the market is actually to take, because government has a stake in all those licenses, take your stake through the actual physical commodity, be paid in physical commodity. Then you, on one side, you are building up the reserve. On the other side, you are actually trading for what you need now to consume today. But commodity has got certain benefits. One is that it's got value, which means you can industrialize. Two is that it will protect your currency through other, for example, volatilities, and inflation. The other issues are that you will have a lot of devaluation will almost not be there. But you will also have physical wealth, because what you need to realize is that you will control that physical wealth through the fact that the commodity is not in the financial system like your digital, for example, assets, which are backed by institutional presence. The commodity is outside the financial system, and therefore you have tangible wealth. And most importantly, you can diversify within the market, raise instruments. You can enter into the bond market. You can enter into, for example, like promissory notes and other instruments like SBLCs and all the instruments that you need to literally handle your procurement and your purchase and your stability. So they say, and the value is much bigger because corporations can declare dividends whenever they want to declare dividends. Of course, we know that government gets a royalty on top of that. But within the internal dynamics of the framework of corporate strategy is that corporations can only pay you once they have literally declared dividends. And that is not value to us, because fiat, you spend it, but commodity, you industrialize. And if we can control that part, which is what the president is really talking about. She's talking about industrialization, she's talking about mineral beneficiations, And I can say this with no fear of contradiction, having been visited many countries around the world, we don't even have a single vault holding any of our commodities. How is it that a country that produces all this big mineral wealth like diamonds, like gold, uranium and lithium, and the list goes on and on and on to copper. Where is the vault? And these commodities are doing extremely well within the global market, other than the diamond, which is now facing competition from lab-based solutions, from these diamonds that are produced in laboratories. It's the only really of the commodities that is facing a little bit of an uphill battle and challenge, but I believe it will also come back. But other commodities are doing extremely well, you know.
Do we have examples in the world of countries that have done things in the manner that you're suggesting, or will we be the pioneers of that kind of approach?
I think all the industrial countries have done that. The United States have done that, because you always have to look at the best. I always say, let's not look at similar situations. Let's look at the best of the economies: Belgium, France, UK, Russia, China, even the new money within the Gulf corporations. They are sitting on massive gold reserves. They don't even have gold mines there in the UK, but they are sitting on that. But the reason why they are able to develop the economy, they're able to industrialize, because they are controlling directly the commodity, number one. Number two, there is financial stability, economic stability, because their currencies are actually backed by real tangible commodities in their vaults, which they are able to monetize anytime. And they are also able then to control issues, for example, like if there is volatility within the market, like right now, you have had a lot of uncertainty, mostly by the tariffs that the US president has been putting up. I know that some of them were scrapped by the Supreme Court. But if you look at the war that's happening now in the Gulf against Iran, and then turning into sort of a regional conflict, the intervention in Eastern Europe. So there has been a lot of volatilities. And once you have fiat, today it's worth this much, tomorrow it's devalued. Look at the oil price. The other day, Brent was reporting about $114 per barrel. Today it's back to like 80, 90 US dollars per barrel. So fiat can lose values very, very, very fast because you are there to spend it, but commodity stays. So the stability is much, much better. The devaluation doesn't even exist when it comes to the presence of actual commodities such as the oil and gas, because the commodity stays, and that is unfortunately the opportunity you have now to venture into an area which you have never been before. Namibia has never done that before, to now create value addition industries around those commodities. You don't have to go, for all of them, but let's start somewhere. Let's start somewhere and build up I want to see, like, within the next 5 to 10 years, we have some gold jewelry bars in our reserve bank for economic stability, but also for trading, if we want to. And when we trade, we dictate the pace because we are directly involved. We are not going through other processes that and be told all sort of answers and so on, and be told all sort of technicalities that are market friendly terms, like volatilities, inflation, things like that. We are actually interventionists within the market economy of our country, and only when we are able to do that, we are then able, I feel, to be stronger as an economy. I really say I'm enjoying what Her Excellency the President's vision is really, really solid, and that's where we need to now start moving towards. As she's saying, it's business unusual. So you have to do things that you have never done before, like walk through the forest and create a path where there was no path before.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in a process like that, Doc, how will we use entities like a Pangalo, which is supposed to be our vehicle into spaces like that, but which, from where I stand, seems to have been very, very dormant? What kind of role can a Pangalo play in something like that and beyond that proposal?
Big corporations, not just a Pangalo, even NAMCO. Lately, it's been in the news for the wrong reasons, that it's in a strategic mess or massive losses, but it's all good. I remember last year we appropriated some funds to it to clear some of the bad debts, the historic bad debts that they had. But institutions like a Pangalo and NAMCO that are really in the space to dictate the pace of Namibia's frontier towards extractive industry can be very meaningful. But we need to also be intentional as to what do we really want. We sometimes create institutions, and then somewhere along the way, we fail to understand why did we even create this institution in the first place. A Pangalo was created to really be the front, the representative, the shareholder, the industry domination of the flagship mining industry on behalf of the Namibian state. But it has completely failed to do that because, first, we have failed to capitalize it. Secondly, we have failed to really dictate the pace when it comes to negotiation into those licenses. So now a Pangalo had to buy itself into those licenses, which they were not having that money. They are not capitalized. So now you have some kind of loan arrangement versus the shareholding. And then the loan is now used when they are declaring dividends. In some of the instances, like USA, for example, the loan is being paid by the dividends.
Not taking dividends so that you cover for
exactly. For me, this is voodoo economics. This is why I say sometimes we apply voodoo economics. It's unrealistic economic. When you are facing foreign investors who are very, very important to Namibian developmental discourse, and I've met so many in my life who are really, really passionate about coming here to invest. They love the economy, the field, economic playing field that is created by government.
Right.
But we also need to know that when we are sitting on those tables negotiating, we are negotiating on behalf of the people of Namibia, because the wealth belongs to the people. Therefore, I do not see how strategically we are going to subject a Pangalo, for example, to another loan so that we then bring them in to benefit from our own natural resources. We must negotiate and without fear and without favor and in the best interest, and say, this is the amount of stake that we are going to bring in to invest in a particular zone. But the sort of an open-ended situation that we have now within the Mineral Corporation, because it's a walk-in and then you determine your terms, you draw up your work program, and then you go and shoot your data. We can then carry the government up to the first production well. For example, in terms of mining, up to the mining license, you carry them. But when we negotiate either the production license in terms of oil and gas, or when we're going to negotiate the mining license, we need to ensure that the government is not, the state of Namibia, not even the government, is not disadvantaged in these ventures. And I think that's the disaster which is happening with the Pangalo mining, because they have been literally left to dry, and there's no direction. And they are also applying like everyone else. Yeah. This is our strategic arm of government to intervene in the mining industry. We can't subject them to the terms that everyone else is subjected to. We must be just intentional and say, this portion belongs to a Pangalo, and we are not going to negotiate about it. Yeah. And I believe that market opportunities are ripe. We just need to be clear about what we want. And if we are not clear, we'll lose the opportunity. It's happening right now in the oil and gas, Yeah.
We'll touch on the oil and gas. The free carry approach to which a Pangalo has been subjected, has it worked in your view?
It hasn't worked, because they are actually not free carried. A Pangalo has not actually been free carried, which for me, I feel it's a policy disaster that has led to the current situation. Because what they did is that a Pangalo comes in, loaned money, and then when they are loaned that money, they buy their stake in that venture. Yeah. And so what they literally, the few licenses they're hanging on to, they are literally paying back the loan through the returns that are coming in a form of dividend, which is what I tell you about that. And it all depends on what are the market conditions, what are the interest rates, what are the inflation rates. Yeah. So now these loans are actually exposing a Pangalo's balance sheet to all those volatilities, to a point where they can never really build up enough liquidity or enough capital really to dictate the pace, for example, like national companies. If you go to other countries, why do we have the Shells and the BPs here? These are state-owned enterprises, and the Totals. They are able to dictate because they were properly capitalized. And capitalized doesn't necessarily, this is why I say, doesn't have to be in monetary terms. It has to be because we have the commodity, we have the resource. Yeah. If we are able to prove that we have the perfect reserve of a particular resource in place underground, why can't we make that as part of the contribution of our stake as a Namibian nation in those licenses? Yeah. There are areas where perhaps we need to shoot more data, whether you need to shoot more technical data, magnetic, aerial gravity, seismic, many other things that you need to shoot. Then we can now say, okay, the investor take a much bigger risk, but the risk of the holding cannot be at the expense of the Namibian people. And therefore we need to look at how we need to take our stake, because we are in an economic uncertainty right now. As I've mentioned, the fiscal debt is breathing down our neck. So we need to now look at the commodity sector and see how do we must receive our our stake within, in commodity. It has been done. It is being done all over the world. Some of the cleverest economies in the world are doing that. And then secondly, how are we then going to use it to add more value to our economy? Because what needs to increase is the value of your economy.
Yeah.
If you are just increasing the operational expenses, if you look at, for example, the budget, the appropriation bill, which I made that statement, is that 18% of that goes to literally servicing the interest rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how sustainable is that within the next maybe 5 to 10 years? Yeah. It's not going to be sustainable because you are actually borrowing from the future to pay today's operating expenses. It's a very, very tight budget. And I compliment my colleague, the Minister of Finance, and the colleagues who are in the executive. I compliment them. And this is why some of us, we are proposing serious, paradigm shift within just doing things the way they've been done, because that is what has been happening, because that's what Treasury dictates and so on. We need to be the change agent, just like I said, for example, that we can't build a house where some are in the rain, some are outside, because whether we like it or not, a tough discussion must be held that black Namibians do not have access to capital. Yeah. They don't. They really don't. They are relegated to relatively primitive forms of production. They are controlling all the little informal settlement, but they are not transformed into the formal economy, which has access to all the markets, the formal market, whether it's the financial market, the capital market, the IT market, everything. That's why you see, for example, when the people are cooking their kapanas in town, what does the city police do? They come and literally destroy them, which I'm completely against. I'm completely against that. Because that is not a failure of the person who is selling. It's a failure of the system that is not sustainable. If there is a market, then create a conducive environment for that person to trade. Yeah. Because there is a market for their product, and then you allow them to join the formal economy now. And access to capital is key, because even if you talk about national development, you can't develop it if the majority of your population does not have access to the capital.
Before we go for a very short break, Tobie, tell me how does the system work when a man like yourself, you are a prominent voice within the ruling party. You are a member of the Central Committee of the party. You are a member of the Politburo of the party. You are a technocrat in your own right. You have a history of success in that space. When you come to Parliament and put on the table some of the ideas like you did, how does the system work to make sure that you're not just blowing hot wind and that there's indeed traction of some sort in what you're saying and maybe implementation? Do people just read their statements in Parliament and then it ends there? Is anyone listening? How do we make sure that there's some sort of realization?
This is exactly when I put it on the table in Parliament. It's true that Parliament has also become a theater zone. People make theatrical statements that are very unrealistic sometimes, or maybe just to make themselves look good. But many of the when you talk about people who have had a tested record of how industries work, these are proposals that I'm putting on the table for us to be able to start looking at. And I believe both the members of the National Assembly had received that proposal in a very positive, but also in a very pioneering environment, because this hasn't been done before in Namibia. And I'm proposing a paradigm shift to match our developmental objective, which is the National Development Plan, to contribute to our Vision 2030 before it ends. And it's taken very, very serious. It becomes policy of the government. And it's now upon us to push these policies within the framework of national development. And it's already actually, if you look at it, because you are saying you want to do mineral beneficiation, if you look at the NDP6, you read a lot about the extractive industry being an important industry to our economy. The oil and gas, it talks about the mineral value addition, beneficiation, nuclear development, and all those things. How are you going to develop them if you don't have the commodity itself? Yeah, it's for you to do that. So it actually even speak already to the existing policy, and it will. And if we are serious about our developmental objective, then we have to do things that we haven't done before. Because if you can't pay yourself, you can't just tax yourself out of economies. Economies like Dubai have had to do incredible things that has never been done before, and we mustn't fear. If you make, you test. It's a trial and error. There is nothing that has ever been achieved without trial and error. Even when you're a baby, you start to walk, you fall down. But then, as an economy, we must know that our project of national independence, with so many people who gave their life, I don't think they gave their life for us to just do business as usual. Absolutely. They did that so that we can continue to be an experimental state, which means we are going to do things that have not been done before, in order to ensure that we eliminate poverty. I truly believe that poverty and unemployment can be significantly reduced, especially in a country like Namibia with so much wealth, like mineral wealth, a small population. What the Gini coefficient is so high in Namibia. When you look at the data, you think, wow, this economy is really so well. But if you look at the level of poverty and unemployment, it scares you, and that's worrying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Too few to be poor, like the president.
Yeah, like the president says. It's too few. Seriously, yeah, she's right.
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
We go for a very short break and return with Dr. Tobie Aupindi. We are talking to Dr. Tobie Aupindi. He is a Swapo Member of Parliament in the National Assembly. Doc, one of the news headlines also that came out this week was the South African Development Corporation of some sort, the one that owns 10% in Rossing. We saw guys like Knowledge Kati and the Paragon owners, Desmond, saying this is an opportunity for Namibia to lay its hands on that, having, of course, historically only held 3% in Rossing. Ideally, in a situation like that, how would you propose that we go about a situation like that, an opportunity like that?
In actual fact, we should actually, as a country, we must be very serious. We must be intentional about our own natural wealth. They should, no matter whether this company is a South African, they cannot dictate who to sell. Yeah. We must actually, I commend Desmond Amunyela and Knowledge Kati for actually trying to go into that sector. We need to create more of those opportunities. Of course, we generalize the empowerment must be generalized within the context of a country that is developing. We need to look at the community. They must be involved within those areas. We need to look at the local authorities that's in those areas. And then they come in as entrepreneurs. And what they are trying to do should actually be supported, and it should be admired. It is unacceptable that we have these natural resources, but we keep signing them off to others. Yeah. If there is capital we can inject into that business proposition, in that mineral cooperation, to retain that stake, that 10% stake in that mine, we should actually, priority must be given to local Namibians who must conglomerate it into a sort of a much bigger empowerment. And people mustn't look at Knowledge Kati or look at or Desmond Amunyela or look at Chico, or you see these people all the time. They have been vilified. And I say we shouldn't look at them as individuals. We should look at them as the representative of a really upcoming community of people. When the system said that they cannot succeed, the system was rigged to ensure that we don't succeed in our own country. And therefore, when these people are coming up, we need to help them. We need to ensure that that the shares, it benefits the country when the ownership is retained within the local economy. Look at, and there's enough liquidity in Namibia. There's enough cash to actually to translate that into reality. So they must just be supported, but it must be intentional. It cannot be dictated by a company that will just choose to sell to whoever because they want to sell either to their friends. And I'm not saying they said that, but I'm just saying either they want to sell to someone else. If you go to South Africa, what happened to people like Dr. Patrice Motsepe? He's a miner himself. You can, and I'm just giving one example. You can't, if you go to the South African economy, there is an amount of black excellence within the mining corporation because it creates wealth, massive wealth for the people, massive wealth for the country. And one thing I have to say is that when we talk about black excellence, it's not something we must not fear to say that because we are not demeaning our white compatriots who are equally good citizens of Namibia, because we are a country, multiracial society. But we must also realize that Namibians, the black Namibians, were vilified by past colonial laws. And when these people succeed, we need to cheer them on rather than being the same to vilify them. You find someone like they circulate, for example, about either Desmond or about Knowledge Kati or about Chico renting a building. How many black people have buildings in town the way Dr. Chico has in town? Now he has been able to, through the struggle, headaches and pain, a black Namibian has got those resources. So let's support them. But let's also inspire the next generation of younger people, both black and white, all our children, to look up to these people and say, wow, I can be like Chico. Whether I'm black, whether I'm white, I can look up and be like Chico. I can be like Desmond. I can be like Knowledge Kati. These are serious serial entrepreneurs of absolute high repute that must be admired by all of us. And I compliment them for wanting to take over those uranium shares.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave a good example about the rental of Chico's building in town. It appears in the news a lot. But I know, for example, that the Sanlam building has a lot of government offices, renting that building. Not once have I seen an article about how much Sanlam is being paid by the Ministry of Information or even of Justice that is renting in that building. So on that point, you're making a very good observation. So essentially what you're saying is that Namibia cannot become a playground for this foreign interest. You must give Namibians some sort of the first right of refusal to say, look, we have this proposition, we are exiting. Do you want it? We explore ourselves, we exhaust all our avenues. If we can't, then we say we can then sell to anybody. Is that sort of your...
Exactly. Yeah. We cannot just put it on the table and say, maybe like foreign enterprise or foreign investors must take it. Because that's already a proven reserve. It's already a mine. That's mining. So we have the resources, the financial resources. We have the natural resources. Let's give Namibian first right of refusal, including the government itself. That let them get the first right of refusal, so that we can then claim to be owning our own natural resources. But if we just handle it the way some of them have been handled, I'm afraid we are not going to achieve our national development. I really wish that culture of writing about black excellence to try and somehow turn it into some kind of that black people are somehow corrupt or they are not worthy of being wealthy, like you splash Chico out there because he's renting out a building, you know, a black Namibian, but you don't do the same when others are like the Salams and many other prominent white Namibians who have buildings and they are renting them to public offices. For example, I used to be CEO of NWR. We used to rent the Gataman. During my time there, I've never seen that in the newspaper. But it's a question of trying to vilify us and trying to really win the economic war in a very unprofessional way. It should be condemned by all of us, black, white, because we are all in it together. And it borders really on inferiority, you know, and black on black hate. Because what you find is that somebody else from somewhere will literally just create the tip, and then who is busy circulating all those information about these people on those WhatsApp groups? It's the black people ourselves. Black hate. The world is moving on. The world is focusing on content of characters. What can you contribute? What can you do in terms of the opportunities that are given to you by God for you to make a difference in community? But this black on black hate has to become one of the biggest priority areas we need to really tackle, because it's completely out of control. And it's devoid of any comprehension. It's completely destroying black people where they don't need to destroy themselves, where they just need to work together and benefit. So many of those people like Chico and Desmond can be assets to this country. And they are assets. They are paying millions of dollars in tax. They are employing hundreds and thousands of people like any other business people. They follow the rules of the game, of the corporate game. And we need to look up to them. And they can really be a source of inspiration into communities that we have around the country, especially rural communities, former communities that are condemned, where people had said before that historically, strategically, genetically, that we cannot. They try and prove themselves points, genetics, that we are somehow inferior. We are not. We don't look to be ruled. We are not a fragile people. We are strong people.
I remember when Paragon when they won that airport tender against Menzies, which is an international company from, I don't know, God knows where, South Africa or elsewhere. And in that moment, you would think that Menzies is actually the local company, because the way they were being defended, they are professional, they are whatever. But they started somewhere themselves. Let Paragon if they get the tender. I mean, the question of what we should worry about is whether they got the tender fairly and transparently. Once that is established, allow them to tumble, allow them to pick themselves up until they become that world-class entity like Menzies to handle cargo and everything at the airport. So you are making absolute sense there. Doc, let's talk just quickly also about oil. It looks as if we are heading towards production, not in a not so distant future. The debate is around the mandates now. In Parliament, there is a huge debate whether this should be with the ministry, whether we should be within the presidency. The president seems to think that if it's within arm's reach, she can expedite things. I think that is the principle. And there's also fear of corruption within the Minister of Mines and Energy. There's been a lot of issues there. As an MP also who is chairing the National Resources Committee, what are your thoughts?
First of all, I really feel, I was very dismayed when I heard people reporting about the president, and especially the sons of the president, that somehow the president has favored them. Because I know those Nande and so on, within the downstream operation, he has had that business for so many years now. So it goes to this hate on hate black. But coming to the policy itself, I'm on record to have said that I'm in full support of the president and what she's trying to achieve for the country, and trying to bring the oil and gas in the office of the president, perhaps to keep it at arm's length so that she's able to give it direction. And And I've said that on many times, that the president has actually done well. And it's an example that has been used before within the general framework of oil and gas management in many countries like UAEs and Ghana and so on. But what you need to do, I think perhaps I see the argument from some people saying it's probably the formula, because it must be in the office of the president, but it must also have there must be a level of accountability, but also a level of I think protecting our head of state.
Yeah.
I think one of the key issues which was mentioned, and I'm busy studying it to see does it make sense, is the fact that you don't want the court to be mediating these issues.
Yeah.
You want the president to be the final authority, and therefore for the president, because otherwise, if you allow that, then the court will have to any misunderstanding. And I know the oil and gas is very deep, very complicated, and it's always having issues.
Huge interest.
And there's a lot of huge interest. And they finance whatever they want to finance. So it must remain in the presidency. Now, the framework of how it remains in the presidency, I think what I'm seeing the voices is just to really create a bit of buffer so that you protect the head of state, so that the head of state is not frontline. The head of state is already the one that will be appointing the people, and that's good.
Yeah.
Whether now you want to create an agency away from that, where the president just appoint the heads, or whether you want to bring in maybe a minister in the presidency responsible for petroleum, as long as, because the moment once you have, I think Her Excellency as the front line, now, if someone now comes up, for example, and complain, now where is the center of mediation? It's going to have to go to court, and you don't want that to happen. Yeah. So, but what I really like about the president is that she's really trying to ensure that she eliminates all those uncertainties within the industry in itself, to keep her hands, on deck with regard to oil and gas, and perhaps to then guide it to future economic stability. I think that has to be applauded, and people mustn't try and triviate the discussion to my two young brothers, the president's own son. I know those guys. They've been my young brothers for many years. They've been in business already for many years, in the downstream in particular. As they have said, they've been in downstream. President is only president for 1 year. I think if there is something we don't know, let people come up with facts of matters. But in terms of what we are seeing now, we should really support each other, and not try and drag each other's names. I know the president for many years, since I was a toddler. She's a person of absolute statute that can never be broken by little things like corruptive issues. She's very solid, and her best interest lies only with the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As we conclude the conversation, Doc, I don't know how many minutes we still have. I'll be directed in a moment. But one of the challenges that we have right now is to strike that balance between appeasing ourselves as a country that owns these resources, without and appeasing the investors. Because I've seen outrageous propositions. People saying, we must own 60% of the oil. And I ask myself, but what investor will agree to terms that are very negative towards them? You want them to come and invest into the capital injection. You fold your hands because you own the property, the resource, and then production and everything. You fold your hands, and you just stand at the end of the pipe that brings in the dividends. How do we make sure that, yes, we do not lose out as a people, but we also do not antagonize investors and chase them away?
Investors are already getting a chill. I mean, I've been in that sector for a long time, and I know there's already a chill within the industry itself. People are trying to see how are we going to make big investment decisions in a very volatile environment, because you need to provide, certainty. And right now, it can be said without contradiction that there's no uncertainty, and it's every day it's almost different. And of course, we are still arguing the law in Parliament, but of course, the existing Petroleum Act of 1991 is still in play until otherwise amended. But so there's a lot of uncertainties. The upstream, of course, moved to the presidency, still doesn't have any legal standing, other than the executive power of the president to create that unit in her office, which is great. So investors are very jittery, they're getting a chill. What we need to do is, as I said, grow like a baby. Let's allow the current production, create enough stability, negotiate a production agreement with Total Energy, and take baby steps. And already we put in place mechanisms. One is to receive our commodity, which will add value to our economy. To start already a national gas company, for example, so that they don't flame out the gas. So we use that to further bring it in. It's another commodity which we haven't even thought about, so that they go into massive production, and then revenue starts coming in. When the revenues are now coming in, you now have a chance to move further and dictate the pace in terms of future negotiations and maybe future renewals as well. But at this stage, whatever we are trying to deal with, it's not going to work, because we are not giving enough stability to the market to continue operating. So let's allow production to go on, because government now they have a loyalty within the petroleum agreement. They have a loyalty that is defined, and they have a shareholding within that issue. Let's negotiate other issues that are going to bring us more value. We have a solid loyalty. In terms of the shareholding, we take our cut in terms of the commodity itself, which we will trade ourselves, and then let's allow the oil to land onshore, and let's see what values we are going to do in terms of it landing. But the way we are going now, we are not even talking about the big industries that are around the oil industry, such as the service industry. Do you know that currently, as we talk, shouting at ourselves and talking about things that don't matter, the service industry is actually being stolen under our feet? The big money in oil industry is spent on services, servicing those rigs. Big guys coming to weld, special, welding skills, servicing vessels, and massive operations that are servicing the entire oil community. That's where the money is going. Namibians are not even there. They are focusing on one aspect, when we should be, our aim is get into production. And when you get into production, you also get a new standing within the global oil market. That there's a new kid on the block that has just arrived into production. We are able to dictate, we are able to give ourselves tenure of security, and we are able to knock those prices down, because we are now an oil producing economy, and we are able to industrialize around the oil economy. But right now, the debates are very unprofessional, very uninformed, and devoid of any comprehension. What we have is uncertainty all over, and we have a chance now, and that chance is fast closing, because once the investor moves on,
they are gone.
They are gone. We took so many years trying to, because people mustn't think that this thing started yesterday. They started many, many years ago. And oil and gas is an exciting industry, but it can also be a curse. And it's fast moving into a curse territory if you're not careful.
True. I think I have 1 minute. So in finality, really, Doc, as a lawmaker yourself, how important is it that laws, the pace at which we enact these laws is really pacey? We have been sitting on that NIEF policy framework for the longest of times. There are many investors who say, look, we are monitoring that situation closely, and until it is adopted properly, we cannot go into Namibia. What if you set up shop today, and then the next day you're told 25% of your company must be ceded to the locals or whatever? So, which speaks to the certainty that you spoke about earlier, just how important, how retrogressive is it when we are not really doing things at an important pace?
It's a disaster. We need that NEF or whatever empowerment framework, like we need it now, and that we can't negotiate that. We can never negotiate our natural resources or our decency, our capability as a human being who are here, who are Namibian, endowed by God with a lot of natural wealth. We can't negotiate that. Constitution, which came into effect in 1990, directed us that we need to enact laws that are going to empower people who are, who were previously disadvantaged by past colonial laws. And it has to happen now so that you create certainty. Then investors know that when they are coming here, these are the terms of operation within that economy. But in terms of empowerment, that is not negotiable. It is just not negotiable. We are not going to negotiate. We need to empower people. And I feel that our colleagues within the executive needs to bring Parliament a bill of NEF. It has been going on now for 36 years. People are sending back and forth. It becomes NEF, then it becomes NEF, then it becomes BE. The Constitution is very clear on it. There are people who have been deprived by past colonial legacy and laws, and we cannot allow the current status quo to continue like that. It devastates me completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doc, thank you for your time. Man.
What an honor. Chatting to you is always a great honor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It.
Yeah.
That is Dr. Tobie Aupindi. He is a member of Parliament representing Swapo in the National Assembly and also chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources. Thank you for watching.